yo. Okay, there we go. I'm looking for this King of the Hill map you played. I can hear you, yeah. Was that the name of the map? Oh, there we go. King of the Hill. Sure. One move. All right. Mm, 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 mm. Okay with anything? Yes. I think that is all. Okay with any of those. It is.
Готов есть. Что? Идут. Да.
Oh, I didn't even
Седай.
notice.
Что?
Active
Ладно, есть.
steak sandwich.
Строим?
Готов есть. Да. Ага. Числа?
Yeah, let's for that again. Yeah, I don't mind it. It was nice.
Часа?
I actually didn't even have that. I had
Ясно, Сонь.
На казе, Сонь.
Слушайте.
Готовы есть мы.
Часа? Строю.
I know.
Готов есть.
Crazy.
Что? Слушаете?
Came out to 300 and something bucks in total for it. Yeah, it's more or less. I think Nando's is even cheaper actually.
На казе, Сонь. Рублен. А?
Часов. Слушаете?
А? Опасно есть! На казе, Бонтон?
Yeah, no, Nando's.
На казе, Бонтон? Готов есть. Поревницы, Сонь. Противный есть! Слушай, люди.
Готовы есть мы.
Что готов есть? Поревни. Часо? Часо.
The Hill, okay. Yes.
Готов есть.
Yeah, I know it is. It is.
Слушай, на казе, Сонь.
Жду.
Готов есть. Возвратай, Сонь.
На казе, Сонь.
With your Scots.
Готов есть. Возвратай, Сонь. Возвратай. Конь, Гриндон. Конь есть. Возвратай, Сонь. Да.
Yeah, that's me.
Поревницы, Сонь. Поражайте.
На казе, Сонь.
Что? А? Слушайте. Готов есть. На казе, Сонь. Возвратай есть.
The greed is probably gonna
Игорь.
come.
Пните! Число?
Часов.
Слушайте.
Городе
Готовы?
Слушайте.
Помогите! Часов слушаемся! Исполняем! Да! Исполняем! Добро есть! Форевник есть.
Готов есть.
Готовы есть? Иду помалу. Жду. Сзидание.
Наказе Бондон?
Слушаете.
Противный есть!
Часа? Что?
Стрельбище есть!
Слушаете.
Наказе Бондон? Да! Готов есть! Слушаем! Форевник есть! Форевницы Сонь!
Cannot work as this man.
Борози Сонь!
Готовы есть мы? Збираю. Труждаемся.
Что?
Возвратай, Сонь! Готов число? Опасно есть! Готов есть!
Yeah, man, and
Возвратай есть! Скачок! Возвратай! Конь, Гриндон! Готов есть! Конь есть! Поревницы Сонь! Да, конь есть! Слушаемся! Добро есть! Поревницы Сонь!
Что? Что?
Готовы есть?
А? Часа?
Борози Сонь!
Наказе, Сонь.
Нет! Часо! Возвратай, Сонь! Готов, число. Слушаемся.
Слушайте.
Что?
Брови, конь есть! Исполняем.
А?
Поревниц, добро есть.
Жду.
Поревницы, исполняем.
Жду. Идон. Строим.
Готов, слушаем. Возвратай, Сонь.
Готовы есть?
Дело.
Число, Пойнт Гриндон. Поревницы, Сонь, да.
Слушаете.
Готов есть. Конь есть.
Готов есть.
Труждаемся.
Наказе, Сонь.
Only need to do these also to my
Число. Возвратай, Сонь.
Готовы есть мы? Наказе, Сонь.
Что?
Возвратай, Сонь. Возвратай, Сонь. В Пойнт Часов.
Часа. А? Что?
Нуждаются.
Мне нравится.
Радуйся.
На казе будут. Построено.
Дело есть.
Поревницы готовятся. Ворон стоит! Крутейшицы, идите! Позаратай, готовится! Оболчите! Приуготовляйтесь, копейщицы!
Слушайте.
Раз, до свидос. Иду уже. Стреляю!
Копейщицы в ряде стоят!
Приуготовлять надобно есть. Я построю сие. На казе будут. А люди, слушайте,
Приуготовляйте копии! Сделаю! Поревницы готовы! Хотите напрямь!
приуготовляйтесь все. Добуду мясо.
Приуготовляйтесь!
Слушайте. Начну трудитесь.
Готовь! Позаратай!
Приуготовляйтесь, актив.
Приуготовляйтесь все.
Готово есть! Иду куда велено есть!
Я здесь.
Копейщиц, я готов!
Делай.
Я починить.
Где ворон? Готове есть мы!
Is go on top of the cupboard or go in the
Слушайте.
corner?
Люди, служите, готовы. На казе будут.
Делаю.
Готов! Порев! Приуготовляйтесь, копейщицы!
Люди здесь. Начну трудитесь.
Слушайте.
Чего делать надо, но...
Людям тут наказы.
Сделай!
Слушайте. Приуготовляйтесь все. На казе будут. На казе будут.
Приуготовляйте копии! Ясно есть!
Слушайте. Построено будет.
Город.
Приуготовить надобно.
Готове суть! Сделаю! Наказом след...
Работа ждет.
Беда есть! Ворон приидет! Копейщицы приуготовляют! Идите! Приказ! Эйча!
Слушайте. Исходим. Сие исходим.
Где ворон? Копейщицы, глядите!
На казе будут. Идти надобно.
Ворон близ стоит!
На казе будут. Люди, служите готове.
Копия на прикурусуме! По мне!
Йомане.
Ополчение есть! Позаратай!
Да-да-да, то видишь, да.
Садитесь на коней!
Люди здесь. Надобно есть. Люди здесь. Захожу. Люди, слуги. Люди здесь. Я построю сие. Люди, служить готовы.
слушайте.
Harassing green, yeah. Good amount of workers out.
Что накажете?
Люди, приуготовляйтесь и наказы слушайте! Люди, приготовьте накажете!
Что накажете? Сия исправим! Яко прикажете! На месте будем скоро! Начну исправлять!
Газ сделано! Сидите, вратарь, готовы, двигайтесь! Повинуюся!
Готов, что накажете? Трудитесь, надобно.
Наказ слушайте надобно!
Сделано будет! Слышите? Примите зрак веселый!
Back. Back.
Держите копья рук!
Wrestling
Ожидай
green,
того,
yeah.
застрелите!
Now
Войны,
pink is
напрячь
sending
мозгов
him
на
up.
газ! Идите, лучше слушайте!
Дайте мне работу. Копаю присно.
About the stable now. It's
Вижу ворога! Наказом следует! Умри, свинья! Ожидайте наказа! Наказ исполняю!
Что накажете? Сие построю скоро. Люди, трудитесь и приуготовляйтесь! Люди, все идем! Надо найти! Люди, приуготовляйтесь и наказывайте!
yeah. It's running away from his base. No protection.
Готово.
Не захочете.
Иди трудницы надо внесуть.
Трудитесь, надобно. Сие построю
Secure,
скоро.
secure, shit.
Сбираю древеса, яко велено есть.
Слушайте все. Надо накопать.
Как прикажете, ожидайте наказа.
Что велите?
Трудитесь надобно. Слушайте.
Слушайте все.
Куда направить? Направляюсь, куда наказано есть.
Yeah, pink is here in my base, man.
Флага есть. Да умрут под копытами. Лазаратаи, скачите к ним.
God. Pink got veteran spearmen already. And I didn't see pink coming. Pink sending another.
Слушайте все. Я построю все. Наказ слушайте надобно.
Где трудницы надо мне суть? Начинаю строить и сейчас.
Pink sending another team.
Бойни, внемлите. Наказ ног есть. Тихо! Наказ делайте напрежь поскору.
Что велите?
Готов повиноваться.
Что накажете? Я построю сие. Что накажете?
Наказ слушайте надобно.
Наказывайте.
Трудитесь надобно. Дайте мне работу.
Oh, yeah, he's also coming. Nice.
Слушайте мой
Got a
наказ.
purple man.
Ожидайте встречи надо.
Люди, приуготовляйтесь наказы слушайте.
Воине, внемлите, наказ снов есть.
Че захочете? Готов повиноваться.
Делайте, кричите, не празднуйте. Идем скоро. Ожидайте.
Наливайте. Сейчас.
Наказ слух.
Выступаем
Get
все
myself
крупно.
in like
Братья, двигайтесь надобно. Сделано будет.
Ожидайте на все, идти надо.
and I am smashed.
Противный блин стоит.
Путь мой.
Вот наказ исполняю. Вижу ворога! Слушай, я отсюда не шаг. Нас поражает!
Yes,
Как накажете? Иду, куда наказано есть.
Слушайте все.
looking at the map.
Слушайте.
Even though it open wasn't even looking
Поребник
at it.
готов наступать.
Часов величия.
Наказ слушайте надо. В лесу, возможно, есть мясо много добычи.
Ожидаю наказа.
Готов повиноваться есть. Часов величия. Стреляют в меня! Слушаюсь! Я держу позицию! Готов получить есть! Сделано будет!
Противный блин
Наказ
стоит.
слушайте надобно.
Ожидаю наказа.
Even not even in there by you.
Часов хош? Путь мой!
Слушайте все.
Стреляют в нас!
Як прикажете?
Конь оседлом есть. Поребник готов.
Готов повиноваться! Сделано!
Что накажете? Копейщик готов есть. Да.
Братья, приказ нов есть!
Слушайте, сделано будет.
Трудитесь надо.
Наказе у нас суть. Напрежь по скору, нози не влачите.
Войни,
Что накажете? Приуготовляй, поспешайте.
приготовляйтесь, а наказы исполнять. Повинуйтесь.
Что величие?
Если наказы
Oh, check your bro. I just fainted off that army now.
исправно. Ожидаю наказ.
Повинуюся.
Готов, есмь, служите.
В седле есть. И на брань готов.
Приготовляйтесь, наказы исполняйте. Приготовляйтесь.
Задницы к брани готове суть.
Готовы будете, воине.
Обретов ворога!
Слушайте меня, воины. Наказ,
Убивайте.
время действовать.
Стрелять в меня!
Жду вас.
В сторону.
Двигаюсь опасно. Латницы на сейчас. Исполнено будет. Есть время.
Задник, исполняй наказ! Скачи, родимая!
Силатницы
Ожидаем наказ! Задницы, двигайтесь! Задницы, вряд восстанете! Задницы готовы исполнять наказ!
Приготовьтесь, копье готовы. Приготовляйтесь, наказы.
Задницы к баране готовы! Задник ждет.
Повелевайте! Вижу ворога!
Приготовляйтесь, слушайте меня, воины.
Что наказ?
Наказ слушайте надо.
Стреляет место! Не мы!
Древес надо, что накажете.
Стреляют в меня!
Начинают.
Приготовляйтесь, воины. Долг несть время.
Противный! Близ стоит!
Повелевайте.
В седле есть. И на брань.
Время действовать.
Yes, yes.
Воины, наказы слушайте.
Всадник ждет наказ.
Готовы будете, воины. Приготовляйтесь, воины. Направляюсь, куда велено.
Обретов ворога! Кто не сел, повинуйся!
Приготовляйтесь. Готовы будете, воины. Ожидаем. Приготовляйтесь, наказы. Направляйтесь, наступаем. Приготовляйтесь, воины.
Оружие справа!
Какие готовы?
Слушайте все.
Слушайте все. Послушать, что величие.
Ворог стреляют!
Копейщик готовьтесь.
Слушайте все. Начинают строго.
Копье готовы. Копейщик готовьтесь.
Я не летел, он создали. Map preview. Against AI now, we actually don't get an advantage if we set the map on concealed. So there's concealed, explored, and revealed. Explored, once you cover that dark section, it stays open. Concealed as closes up as you move past. Oh yeah, you shall. That was revealed. Revealed is where it just shows the whole map. Then there's explored. If you walk through it and you open that piece of the map, then it stays open, even if you look away. Now concealed is default. It shows you the map so you can see the terrain, but when you walk past, when you walk away from there, you can't see if troops is coming there. What I'm saying is if we play concealed against the AI, there's actually no advantage. It doesn't count as a disadvantage to them. Because actually it does. They don't see where we come from. Yeah, they don't. Aqui traz o dia again. Yourself in nice and early there actually. You Yeah, you bunkered yourself in nice and early there. I should have done the same. I was focusing on the offensive early. I'm gonna try it again now. The only thing is pink came for me while I was harassing green, man. Concealed.
Готовы, есть мы?
Что? Часа?
Форевник есть. Добро есть. Исполняем. Скачок.
Think so.
Слушайте.
I think so.
Труждаются. Готовы, есть?
Часа?
Куда? Люди готовы. А? Люди готовы. Что? Идут.
Слушайте.
Озоротай есть. Ага. Иден.
Жду. Идут.
А?
Куда?
Ординой!
Часов. Задание. Люди, Сонь.
Готов есть. Наказе соть.
Наказе соть.
Наказе соть.
Готов есть.
When we play like this, I think revealed is probably.
А?
Люди ожидают. Ах,
Sometimes when I play solo, then I'll play revealed.
Наказе, банда.
Just
а?
yeah,
Готовый? Наказе соть.
yeah, you can.
Куда?
Стрельбище есть! Ага! Иду!
Готовы есть мы?
Форевник есть. Да.
Готово есть. Часов.
Готов есть. Слушаюсь.
Слушай.
Тихо.
Готов есть.
Наказе слушаемся.
Озорутай есть. Ага. Слушаемся.
А?
Share my
Что?
actually need to pause
Строй.
Что?
Жду.
this for like minutes.
Рождаются.
Есть. Итог.
Messaging these days. If not, it's official state doctrine. There has been no official response as of yet from Japan or Washington that we've seen, but U.S. officials are continuing to point to their relationship with Japan as one of strength, while they continue to refer to China as dishonest and dangerous, especially when it comes to its handling of Taiwan. Stay tuned for more on this. Okay, joining us now to talk about Chinese missiles and all the other aspects of what must soon become a war between the United States and Iran. We hope not. Our Sergeant Tom Norton. Sergeant Norton is a state senator from the beautiful state of Michigan, where my son is right now, by the way. Go Remington. He's also a veteran of the war in Afghanistan, and he's run an America First candidacy for Congress. Also joining us is Mohammad Marandi, a very popular professor at Tehran University with very American ties. He's kind of a de facto spokesperson for the Iranian government. I'm not saying you're a spokesperson. I'm saying some in the media consider you that, just in case. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Professor Marandi, let me begin with you. Given where we are right now, are you convinced, as I said earlier, that the Iranian government has assured the Trump administration and anybody else who will listen that they're not interested in having nuclear weapons?
Yes, definitely. And Iran has had signed a nuclear deal in 2015, where the most intrusive inspections ever carried out by the International Atomic Energy Agency were carried out for years. And they admitted that there is no sign that Iran ever had a military ambition with its nuclear program. There's no evidence of it. They at times raised certain suspicions, but they never found any real evidence. And even US intelligence admits that post 2003, the Iranians never pursued a nuclear weapon. The IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, actually does not have any evidence from before 2003, and they are the ones who've been on the ground. In fact, the facilities that the United States and the Israeli regime bombed were all facilities where the IAEA has cameras, where their experts and their officials would visit constantly. They're all known entities. There's nothing secret about them. But the United States uses the nuclear program as a tool to attack Iran. If it's not, because the sanctions and the threats against Iran began far before the issue of the nuclear program, whether it was terrorism or human rights or anything else. The United States has had hostility towards Iran for decades.
But let's stop there, because you've made your point, and I think you made it quite clearly that it doesn't seem to be a whole lot of prima facie evidence indicating that Iran is or has had weapons has had nuclear weapons. So, Sergeant Norton, to you then, what would be your case for being able to prove to the world that Iran needs to be attacked because they're doing the opposite of what Professor Marandi just said?
Well, if you listen to the Iranian government, they'd also tell you they weren't supplying Afghanistan. And what they would do is they'd have the Pashtun cross into their border, supply them, or fighting in Afghanistan in the war on terror. So this is a nation that says one thing and has been caught doing others. And there's pictures of that you can find of the Iranian military would even drive into Afghanistan, hand it to the Pashtun because we couldn't engage them because we didn't have an official action of conflict. So,
but what does that have to do? But what does that have to do with the question at hand, though? Let's stick to what I asked. The question is, what evidence can you present? He just presented a whole lot of evidence about the fact that, you know, even the Nuclear Regulatory Commission is saying, no, we haven't found anything. What do you have to prove otherwise?
Well, evidence that's out there is Pakistan developed nuclear weapons without people knowing it. North Korea got it. Every nation that is developing a nuclear warhead is going to do it in secret, period. That's what they're going to do. They're not going to broadcast to the world that we're going to build a nuclear warhead. And also the Ayatollah, they are the one group that once they got a nuclear warhead would be very willing to use it on their enemies or anywhere on the planet. They would, if they could mount it on a missile.
So it sounds like you don't have evidence. Sounds like you're giving me nothing. You're telling me that the Ayatollah is a bad guy. They did this. The North Koreans did this. The Pakistan did that. But again, my question, let me give you one more chance. What evidence do you have that Iran has or has had nuclear weapons? If you don't have it, just say it and we'll move on to the next question. It's okay.
Well, they've tried to develop actual nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is always used as a leap to get a nuclear bomb.
But nuclear, but nuclear energy, you need 90% enrichment of uranium to get a nuclear bomb. Right now, Iran is somewhere between 3.6 and 4. They're a hell of a long way away, man.
There is high schoolers that could probably build a dirty bomb at this point off the internet. So if they could get enriched uranium. Iran can mine enriched uranium. It's a natural element in their mountains.
I get the feeling that in many ways, as an American, I don't believe this is being done on my behalf. It worries me that a lot of politicians and people in the media are making arguments just like they made about the war in Iraq, which is complete bull crap, and other wars that we fought, that we need to do things that aren't necessarily going to benefit my life or my wife's life or my kids' life or my grandchildren's life. Does that bother you a little bit?
Iran was actually overthrown in 1979 by the CIA and Jimmy Carter. What bothers me is the hundreds of thousands of people that have been killed by that government that were Jews, Christians, and their own citizens that they have killed, that the world knows they've killed. And the United States has a moral duty and an obligation to protect that. Raza Pavini was the only reason he was taken out was because the United States was upset that it was going to form a separate oil organization, separate from OPEC. They took them out and they funded $300 million for Ayatollah Khomeini, put them in power. So I think it's a moral obligation to the world to remove somebody that would kill his own people, threaten Israel, that has threatened the United States in the past, to have them removed for the general security of it.
So let me get this straight then, and I'll toss this to Professor Morandi. His argument is that the United States has a moral obligation to punish Iran for whatever Iran may have done in the past to its own people. Do you buy that argument, Professor?
First of all, the culprit is the United States, not the Iranian government. The United States imposed the Shah on the Iranian people. The United States carried out a coup in 1953 and imposed this dictator and helped create the Savak, the dreaded secret police. In 1979, there was a revolution where people revolted against that regime. And as we speak, we have synagogues in Tehran. We have kosher restaurants in Tehran. We have many churches in Tehran. We have a very active Christian community. In fact, the Armenian community in the country of Armenia clings to Iran because it feels threatened by its neighbors. So this narrative is, I don't know where it comes from in the United States, but the reality is the exact opposite. The only wars that the so-called Ayatollahs were involved in, I don't even know what that means, because the president is a heart surgeon, the speaker of parliament is a professor at my university, the head of the Supreme National Security Council is a professor in philosophy. But in any case, the only wars that we were involved in were two wars where we were attacked. Saddam Hussein, with Western support, invaded Iran. They gave him chemical weapons to use. I survived 2 chemical attacks. Germany was the most important country involved in the chemical program. But the United States and the Europeans never punished Saddam as long as he was using them against his own people and against the Iranians. So that aside, Iran did not in response produce chemical weapons. So while the United States supported Saddam, and then the United States supported Israel, the Israeli regime in attacking, carrying out another war, Iran never engaged in any war. And to go to Afghanistan, in other words, Iran never initiated it, and Iran never produced chemical weapons in response to what the Europeans did and what the West did for Saddam.
Yeah.
With regards to Afghanistan, what was the problem in Afghanistan? There was no Carter coup in Iran. What Carter actually did was in Afghanistan with Brzezinski, they began supporting the so-called Mujahideen to get Russia, the Soviet Union, to invade Afghanistan, to create a Vietnam for the Soviet Union. So what Carter did was that he created, and subsequent presidents helped create fanaticism and Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan in order to create a Vietnam. In other words, they sacrificed the country for their own interests. Then the result ultimately was blowback in 9/11, which resulted in the United States invading the country, occupying it for 2 decades. And obviously, people do not like occupation, and they resist.
So what do you buy that argument, Sergeant? I mean, the fact of the matter, and what the professor is saying is, the United States has put more on Iran than Iran has ever put on the United States. In other words, when did Iran attack the United States? When did Iran, other than sloganeering, threaten the United States or kill an American in the United States or bomb the United States? Is there a record of that?
Yes, the real problem is that the United States goes and bombs and occupies countries, whether it's Lebanon, whether it's Iraq, whether it's Afghanistan, and then expects everyone to accept their occupation. And when people resist, they go and blame Iran. Quit the occupation. Stop bombing countries.
But go ahead, Sergeant.
Understand, so that's not a fallacy, that's fact. Number 2, the 1953 revolution was actually by the United Kingdom when they put back in the Raza Pavini. And in the other part, actually search. And I know Tehran and Russia like to, restrict the internet for searches, but you can get online and find basic declassified information of the revolution being funded by the CIA and Jimmy Carter. I know they like to whitewash those types of things. And the other part,
which revolution? Wait, which revolution?
Yeah, well, you don't even have time to count votes. They declare a winner within 5 minutes of an election. That's not an election. That's just a free state.
Which revolution? Wait, I'm just asking. I'm sorry. You said that there was a revolution founded or funded by Jimmy Carter.
A revolution for the Ayatollah in the late 1970s. He was in France, and the United States helped do that in order to remove this separate OPEC organization that the Raza Pavini was actually going out to found. You can get on there and actually find it. It's something.
But Mossadegh, hold on. Let me offer my version of history. Mohammad Mossadegh was a very popular man in Iran in 1953. He had essentially won governance through the people and an election. And the first thing he wanted to do was give the oil of the country back to the people because it was controlled by the United States. And you're absolutely right, mostly the British. When he decided to do that was when he was couped by the West, removed, and they put in Pahlavi, who became the Shah. That's the story as I know it. What did I get wrong?
The family who came in was removed and put back in. But the other part was they were looking at this associating with Russia back in 1953. So, I mean, we're talking about the history of that part of it. But the other part is Iran actually supplied terrorism. When 9/11 happened, the United States should not have invaded Iraq. I am not a person that actually supported the concept of invading Iraq. Going to Afghanistan, absolutely. But Iran was one of the primary suppliers of it. The countries that were responsible for 9/11 at that point for the funding of terrorism was the Iranian government and actually part of the Saudis. What we should have done is put an oil embargo on Saudi Arabia at that time and actually pumped our own oil. At that point, went after Iran and Afghanistan.
But Iran and the Saudis, but the only flaw in your argument is that the Iranians and the Saudis were at the time not exactly the best of friends. In fact, they were on opposite sides of the spectrum. Why would those two parties?
Cold War, but they do actually sit there. At that point in time, we're both funding a terrorist organization independently and together. The terrorist organization didn't supply to just one government. They were funded by multiple.
So you're saying, so just for the record, to set the record right, make sure we understand you. You're saying Iran was responsible for the blowing up of the Twin Towers on 9/11.
One of multiple nations that were culprits.
Okay, back to you, Professor Marandi. What sayeth you about that?
Well, yeah, this is, of course, from A to Z nonsense. That Prime Minister Mossadegh was overthrown illegitimately by the United States. It was Operation Ajax.
Yes.
And the United States installed a dictator.
Yes.
And in 1979, there was a public revolution. Everyone knows that. There were millions of people on the streets across the country. And you came to Iran just recently and you saw people rallying on the day of the revolution, commemorating for the revolution. Yeah. Don't hide that. But to say that Iran was behind 9/11 had anything to do with it, Al-Qaeda was a creation of the United States and its allies. Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan was blowback. Even Hillary Clinton admitted that. The United States was deeply involved in creating these groups. The Takfiri and extremist groups in Afghanistan, their first textbooks, the young people, the radical extremists, were printed in the United States. Nebraska Omaha University printed those books that were sent to the borders of Afghanistan and Pakistan to create religious hatred and to direct it at the Soviet Union and later on others. But if we want to talk about 9/11, obviously Iran was not involved. But increasingly, a lot of information is coming out about so-called allies of the United States knowing beforehand what happened on 9/11. I saw parts of Tucker Carlson's documentary on 9/11, and we all know where the finger can be pointed at. That's Tel Aviv.
Yeah. Let me ask you both a question. Do you think, Sergeant, that much of what we do in the Middle East, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Lebanon, now Iran, if we bomb Iran, is coming to us as a mandate from Tel Aviv that this is what Israel wants, and Israel usually gets what it wants when it comes to wars, and they don't fight them, we fight them for them, and we pay for them, and we then give money to Israel on top of that. Should I be bothered by that as an American? Should you?
Israel could defend itself every day of the week, and it doesn't need the United States. I think a lot of these countries in the Middle East probably should be blessed that the United States does hold back Israel. Because when Israel's been attacked, they warned some of the other ones. And yes, Israel has done preemptive defense assaults, but they usually kick the living crap, excuse my language, out of these Middle Eastern countries.
Then why did the United States fight the war in Iraq? Where was Israel in the war in Iraq? Where were they?
Iraq?
Yeah, the Iraq was fought at the behest of Israel, but it wasn't fought by Israel, is the argument I'm making. And I'll say the same thing about Syria and Libya and, to a certain extent, Afghanistan.
Afghanistan is the country that was just drawn on the map because it was tribal. So, I mean, Afghanistan's never been a real nation.
As Rumsfeld said, remove Afghanistan because it's just a bunch of rocks. So let's talk about the other ones. We know that Netanyahu and the Israelis are on the record saying they wanted those countries eliminated, attacked, changed. The U.S. went in and did it. But Israel didn't do it. Our soldiers died. My money paid for it. Your money paid for it. Why, I'm asking? Are you comfortable with that?
Well, Iraq, I was never comfortable with.
Okay.
I said earlier. But you take countries like Syria that just went through a civil war. The United States had minimal resources there. Russia sent troops there, divided as well. So, I mean, the war in Iraq, the other part is that has slowly became a nation. Iraq needed the war after the United States left to stabilize themselves to become an independent country in their self-identity. They have actual elections now. They're becoming a much more stable nation.
But listen to what you're saying. But listen to what you're saying. You're saying Iraq was bad, but Iran is going to be good. Tell me what the difference is.
Iran needs to become Persia again. Not Iran, and it needs to restore the Persian.
So wait. Okay, but that's your opinion. What I want to know is you make the argument that you believe now, in hindsight, as do most Americans, by the way, credit to you, props to you, that Iraq was bullcrap. It was a made-up story, and we shouldn't have fought that war, and it was wrong.
I wrote a college paper in 2002 that called it bullshit. So I mean,
good for you. But now you're arguing that if we do the same thing in Iran, it will be okay. Is that what I hear you saying? And tell me, where's the distinction and the difference?
Why to these terrorist groups in the Middle East while we fought the war on terrorism? So I absolutely believe Iran is a threat. I've seen the equipment.
A threat to whom? A threat to whom? To America?
I know where they.
To America? How?
They pushed them up into Afghanistan, and they also supplied it on the process to Iraq when we were in Iraq.
So you're I'm trying to understand you. You're saying that you know because you
supplier, the state supply of terrorism during the war on terror was equipment shoved out of Iran into Afghanistan and into Iraq. So how would we compensate Iranian equipment if Iran was shipping it?
But let's suppose your argument is correct, for the sake of argument, and I'm not going to sit here and try and tell you which piece of hardware came from.
I'll go find some pictures from around.
No. I'm taking you at your word, but I'm saying let us suppose that 10 years ago, Iran may have been responsible for some equipment that was used by terrorists in Syria or here or there. I could argue that there are countries all over the world that we could tie certain pieces of hardware that were then used by either drug traffickers or this or that, including our own country, because I know what we did in Latin America. So you're arguing that because of that, we should now bomb Iraq. That's the argument?
The argument for bombing Iran is because they do have a religious theology that's running it, and they do persecute their people. There have been people killed. You've seen it on news agencies around the world. There's more Iranians that sit there and talk about this after they leave Iran. Why would Iranians leave their country?
People who leave every country, sir, talk bad about their countries.
So are these millions of Iranians, once they have freedom of speech, making this up? Are these millions of Iranians that have fled?
And people from every country. There's people in China who want us to attack China. There's people in Miami that want us to attack Cuba. There's people in Tampa who want us to attack Venezuela. There's people in Atlanta who want us to attack Argentina. People from all over the world go to different countries and then say how much they hate their country. countries and ask the country where they are to attack and kill the people of their country. That's the most common thing in the world. It's a species argument. Back to you, Professor. The argument that he makes, though, about the fact that your country, Iran, export terrorism, there is some validity to that, is there not?
No, it's the exact opposite. The United States supports terrorist groups in Iran, like the MEK, which is very well known. The MEK also fought for Saddam Hussein against our own country. That's just one of the groups. And let me go over a couple of things very quickly. One is in Afghanistan, the United States created that mess. In fact, contrary to what your guest says, Afghanistan was doing pretty well before the Soviet Union invaded compared to countries across. Yes, you can go and look at the statistics and the numbers. Thank God there's AI now. It went downhill very fast due to that dirty war. And as I said, Brzezinski gloated about convincing Jimmy Carter to push for this dirty war. So it's not some conspiracy. This is an interview that he himself carried out before he died.
Yeah.
With regards to...
Go ahead. Finish your point. I'm sorry.
With regards to terrorists in the region, if you're talking about Al-Qaeda, we know that it was created in Afghanistan. We know that the West used Al-Qaeda in Syria. How do we know that? Because Jake Sullivan, who was the U.S. President's national security advisor, when he was in the State Department, he wrote an email to Hillary Clinton on February the 12th, 2012, stating that in Syria, Al-Qaeda is on our side. And also, we have a document produced by the Defense Intelligence Agency of the United States in 2012 that U.S. allies in the region were creating a Salafist entity between Syria and Iraq to isolate Syria. And later, in an interview, the head at that time of the Defense Intelligence Agency, General Michael Flynn, said that it was U.S. policy to support its allies in the region to create that Salafist entity. Who was that Salafist entity? It was ISIS.
Yeah.
So the United States was working with ISIS. It was working with Al-Qaeda. It supports terrorist groups in Iran. Yet the United States is always the victim. And when you talk about Iranian diaspora, there are many thousands of Iranians in the diaspora that are on the payroll. 4,000 of them. 4,000, almost.
Payroll for what? What payroll?
In Albania, they have just one camp where there are almost 4,000 people. They're online trolls. They live in that camp. The Mujahideen account. Everyone knows it.
Who pays them?
Everyone can look at it.
The CIA?
Exactly. I don't think the taxpayers in Iran pay for it. The taxpayers in the United States pay for it. It pays for them and the hundreds of TV channels and websites and the organizations on the border, the terrorist organizations in Iraq, in northern Iraq, alongside the Iranian border, and of course in Pakistan. So the United States is constantly threatening Iran. It is constantly attacking Iran. It supports countries that have zero elections, not even fake elections, and like Saudi Arabia or all other countries, simply because they're allies to the United States.
Let me show you. Let me show you something. I want to show you a video now of a man who was the United States military, and probably somewhat salivates over the idea of the United States being in a war with Iran. Here is Prime Minister Netanyahu.
I appreciate the efforts that President Trump is making to ensure that those threats against both our countries will not be repeated. We have never had a greater friend in the White House than President Donald Trump. The truth is that Israel is not a burden to America. Israel is a strategic asset to America as the American national security council.
I feel bad asking you this question and putting you on the spot because I know you were running for office and you have run for office, and it's impossible to run for office in the United States and criticize Israel because there's no way in hell you'll ever get elected. But I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you believe that Bibi Netanyahu's
plan was actually
intentions are for the benefit of the United States or simply for his own and for Israel?
And Netanyahu represents Israel. And every person he puts first is Israel's interest first.
I mean, I
This
knew
may
this.
be the point of being the leader of a nation. Donald Trump puts the United States first. I mean, that's what
Wait, let me stop you there. You said Donald Trump puts the interests of the United States first. Recently, it has seemed to me that Donald Trump or his administration has been much more interested in the interest of Israel than it has been the interest of the United States. Call me crazy, but I see lots of signs of this.
Well, you look at what happened in just taking out Venezuela. The United States has a huge immigration problem, and part of it is because Venezuela has become, a socialist nation and bankrupt. By taking out the leaders so that their economy starts to recover, that's where the United States is going to benefit, is by South America's economy growing. That's actually how you start to address illegal immigration in the United States, is increasing the economies of those nations.